We're just okay, and we play some
Movies.
games. We're just okay.
Movie
games.
watchers.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Okay Movies. I'm your host, Biggie Size, and I'm joined by...
Hey, it's me, Gweedo. Hi, Biggie.
Hey, Guido. Why do movies suck all of a sudden?
Wow. Loaded question, huh?
Well, Guido and I both have been looking over the films that we've seen this year and have just come out over the course of this year. And oh boy, we're having a hard time. We're like, what are we going to say? What kind of content can we bring other than the shit sucks? And because I don't know, man, coming up with the Oscar season, it's only a couple months away. I have no idea what a front runner even looks like. We've got films like Tick Tick Boom that has a lot of what would you say, gusto behind it because of the director, and it's musical and the subject matter is kind of neat. But that, for me, that's kind of it. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, gosh. Man, I don't know. I think it's a movie I haven't seen yet. Because I just racking my brain over the movies I have seen. It's tough to decide what a front runner for some of my favorite movies are. Now, my favorite and what the Academy would deem the best movie is very different. Because I was just telling Biggie that looking through this list of movies that released in 2021, I think my favorite, the one I had the most fun watching, and it hurts me to say it, but I think it was Suicide Squad.
Oh my God. That pisses me off to no end. All right.
Hey, John Cena really killed it in that role.
He really was part of the bright spot of that whole movie, which is weird to say of John Cena. He's tried to get to that Dwayne Johnson level of fame, of talent. And, I think he's getting there. He's the closest that anyone's ever gotten to, I guess, from the wrestling world. But he's just not quite there. I don't know. Maybe that new, what was he called? The Punisher, or the, what is he? What's his character's name?
Oh, gosh. I don't remember.
Mr. American dude. Something patriotic. Yeah. Maybe that'll put him over the edge because, it seems like they're putting a lot of money into that. So it could be good, but
whatever Warner Brothers and DC has to do to get someone that's, their front runner besides Batman.
Yeah.
They need to put some money behind. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Suicide Squad was a good movie. It was fine. But it had some fun moments and whatnot. And just looking at the movies that I saw, and I took some chances. I got The Green Knight. I watched Titan. I watched, King Richard, which I think probably does have a chance at Academy Awards because it's super safe. It's the Green Book of this year. But it's just like none of them are. I didn't enjoy as much. They didn't bring me as much entertainment. As Suicide Squad, even Ghostbusters, man.
Oh, that's right. Ghostbusters finally came out. Guido, I know you're a massive Ghostbusters fan, and understandably so. It's a great series of films that just recently has had some problems, but this was supposed to be the true reboot to try to get the series back on track. What were your thoughts as a longtime fan?
Oh, boy. So you're talking to the guy that has a scratch-built proton pack in his house. That weighs 75 pounds. Looks pretty accurate, if I do say so myself. I'm a big fan. I had a Ghostbusters party when I was 5 years old with the Ghostbusters cake, all right?
Oh, what was the cake?
The ghost. The ghost. So, big fan. I was always a Ray stan. I liked Dan Aykroyd's character the most. And I know a lot of people go for the Venkman. Maybe even the Spangler stance is definitely a distant third in people's favorites. And then Winston, he's there.
Poor Winston.
Yeah, poor Winston. And I kind of figured going into it, it would just be a nostalgia bomb and just a grab at people's memory of that franchise. And I saw it with my dad and I saw it with my daughter, and I thought going into it my dad and myself would like it way more than my daughter did. Just because we have that experience. We see a ghost trap and we're like, oh my God, it's a ghost trap. Or there's the Ecto 1. Isn't it cool? It's all dusty. I hope they clean it up. And then, I thought we'd have that nostalgic, it's the Ghostbusters. That's so cool. I wonder how they're going to fit. The boys are going to be, I wonder how they'll fit into this thing. And, there was a lot of that, but it wasn't enough to make it into a good movie.
Bummer.
Yeah, it was a kind of a bummer. It was very dialed in. I knew all the beats that were going to happen, 12 bars before they happened. And the way that they honored Harold Ramis was endearing, but at the same time, it was a bit heavy-handed. I don't want to give. Should I say? I feel like people haven't seen Ghostbusters. Like, it came and went, right? Nobody saw Ghostbusters.
Right. You know what? I am curious. I want to know. So everyone just, I'll put it in the time code or maybe where you should skip to. But maybe skip 40 seconds to be safe. A minute, maybe.
Yeah. That being said, it's not like the biggest spoiler. If you watched a trailer, you kind of get what's going to happen. So at the beginning of the movie, there is this shadowed figure. He's wearing the khaki jumpsuit and black combat boots, something that, the critical eye of a Ghostbusters fan would pick up on as being a Ghostbuster. And he's out on a farm field and he's running around setting these traps and stuff. He's got various gizmos and gadgets that he's turning. You never see his face, but you can see he's wearing glasses. It's only one logical choice who that is. It's an old Egon Spangler. And there's some malevolent. What's that word? Malevolent.
Yeah, there you go. Jesus.
Yeah. Some malevolent force out there that's chasing him, and he tries to trap it in this big ghost trap that he set up on his farm. And the trap doesn't work, and he ends up getting caught by the ghost and dying.
Oh,
this
that's
is in the first
cool.
5 minutes of the movie.
Wow.
So Egon Spangler's dead. It cuts to New York City, where I believe it's New York, where this mother is struggling to pay her rent. And she gets a notice that her dad died and he left her a farm, and they have to go and pick it up. Her, this single mother, and her 2 children. The Stranger Things kid and a girl that looks like a 12-year-old female version of Egon Spangler.
Oh.
So yeah. Anyways, they find all the gadgets and gizmos. She finds a proton pack, all that jazz. They figure out who the Ghostbusters are. Somehow the world has forgotten that New York City was run amok with ghosts for several years, to the point of Stay Puft Marshmallow Man walking around and destroying Manhattan, along with a walking Stay Puft or Statue of Liberty. This has just been forgotten, apparently, because the kids have no idea who the Ghostbusters are.
Really? So they act like they do not know of them at all or the events.
No, that's where Paul Rudd comes in, because Paul Rudd is like her summer school teacher. And he's like, wait, you don't know who the Ghostbusters are? Like, you don't remember what happened in New York in 1984? They're like, we hadn't been born we're only 12 years old, no. But still, you'd think that'd be in history books, right?
I would imagine so. I mean, it's kind of badass.
Yeah. So, anyways, she picks up a proton pack for the first time, knows how to fix it. Meanwhile, the ghost of Egon is kind of like using stuff in the environment to kind of push her towards the gadgets and gizmos, like figure out where stuff is and how to fix stuff. Like a desk lamp will move and shine on things that she needs, like a wrench or something. I don't know. So this 12-year-old girl ends up fixing, a nuclear accelerator that's a proton pack,
Right.
a cyclotron, if you will. She fixes it with her 12-year-old brain and the guidance of a desk lamp.
Man, I don't know how I feel about that. Okay.
Yeah, she just, and then Finn, I think his name is Finn Wolfram Alpha, whatever the fucking Stranger Things kid's name is. He's learning how to drive. He's 16. And of course, he's the one that finds the Ecto-1. So they're both kind of discovering things as they go, and he's trying to be the ladies' man, hit on this girl in town. And then there's another kid that's wearing like audio equipment and has a microphone strapped to his neck, like a harmonica holder, and he's wearing like goggles and stuff. They call him Podcast because he has a podcast about.
That's his nickname, his podcast.
Yeah, because he has a podcast about like conspiracy theories. And they are, all four of those kids are all modeled after the Ghostbusters. Like the girl is obviously Egon Spengler, and her brother, Finn Wolfram Alpha, he's Peter Venkman because he's kind of trying to be a ladies' man. And then there's a girl, there's that podcast kid who's Ray Stantz. Ray always had, was kind of eccentric like that kid, right. I suppose. And then there's the other girl that Finn was hitting on, and she's Winston because she's black.
Very efficient. All right.
Yeah. So, they find out the big bad ghosty boy is Zool from the first movie. It follows all those beats of the first movie. Paul Rudd becomes the gatekeeper, and their mom, the single mom, becomes the keymaster, or vice versa, whatever. They turn into the dogs. And then they summon Zool, the same Zool-looking lady at the end of Lady Man, androgynous person, at the end of the first movie. And they lead them back to the farm, and they try to trap it like Egon did at the beginning of the movie. And the trap doesn't work again. What?
Oh, man.
Yeah. So it's looking pretty bad for them. But, 3 pairs of boots stomp out of the cornfields. And who is it? It's Ray Stantz, Peter Venkman, and Winston. With their full get-ups on. Each of them have their proton packs, and they're there to save the day. And they're all shooting their proton packs at the Zool, and the 12-year-old can't quite do it. It's a lot of power for a 12-year-old little girl. So what happens is the ghost of Egon, the actual apparition, shows up and holds her hands while she's shooting their proton pack. And they, they do their business and zap it into oblivion. And they need to zap a few more things. So it shows the lineup of the 3 guys that are alive shooting their proton packs. And then I think the apparition of Egon is standing in line with them, but he's like mock holding a proton pack. He's not shooting anything because he doesn't have a proton pack. He's just standing in line with them, holding an invisible one, like a mime of some sort. And they all kind of look at him, and like one of them gives a bewildered look, and then Winston turns to the side and gives him like a nod, like, thanks, man. Thanks for helping us out of this one. And they vanquish the bad guy, and that was like the send-off that they had for Harold Ramis. It was good seeing all those guys again, but it was just so heavy-handed and like not. You're looking at you're like, okay, I've been sitting in this movie for an hour and 45 minutes, and the Ghostbusters haven't shown up. It's been fucking Stranger Things with ghost traps and proton packs.
Right.
So you're looking at your watch, you know it's going to happen, and it does, and it's fine. You know, Bill Murray has a few lines. They all have a few lines, and it's good to see those guys again. But that's all she wrote, I suppose, in that regard. And you feel kind of like they played you with that nostalgia, but that's all they got. You know, it was a franchise that was made to sell toys.
Sure.
And here we are. 30 years later, almost 40 years later. And the toys, they aren't trying to sell those toys anymore. Maybe they still are a little bit, but now the only thing that they have to go on is the faces of those main actors. And it just felt a little empty, you know?
Sure.
I wanted more involvement in the story than them just showing, kicking down the door at the end and arriving.
Right. Do you, what's the best way of phrasing this? Do you feel like it would have been better if they just weren't in the film at all and they just focused on the kids and their story arc to, building everything back up and beating the ghost that killed the guy? Like, do you feel like they should just focus more on them and just not even brought in everyone else?
Maybe. I think that they're definitely setting it up for another one because another spoiler, Winston has become this like CEO. He's a millionaire. And he ends up at the very end, post credits, he buys the old firehouse with the intention of what seems to be starting up the Ghostbusters again in New York City. So just in my mind, it would have been cool to do more of like a very slow build with that nostalgia where maybe one of them drops in and it builds this. You could rebuild the franchise with that of like having those Easter eggs in there and then going over the course of a few movies into that culmination where they're all together, pull the MCU of it, but on a smaller scale and in Ghostbusters world, right? Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be. Yeah. I almost taken the approach as like what Star Wars did to a degree, because they talked about the moment in The Force Awakens where Rey and Adam Driver are fighting and they're like, oh, Luke's going to show up. And they apparently in the script, that was what was supposed to happen. But they're like, no, she needs to have her moment to, beat down the bad guy and, us have that final like climax moment with her story arc. So we could really kind of build that trust or that relationship. Because if Luke kind of came in, it would be like what you said. It's, okay, this bad thing's happening. Oh, of course, the most OP people are coming in to solve the problem. So now we're kind of torn and drawn to them. And we forget about the new chick because she's new. And we have no, deep feelings with her because she's only been in one movie. So, and that's why I wanted to ask, because did the movie set up those kids well enough that you would rather have just rooted for them to solve the problem. And then, as you said, bring in the heavy hitters, the ones that you're automatically going to be drawn to in future films, instead of having them kind of be the ones to come in and save the day, where you kind of lose like, oh yeah, these kids, they exist. Of course, Bill Murray and them are going to solve the problem. You expect that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was what I wanted going into it was, the Vegas $2,000 girlfriend experience. I hire a high-end escort that, spends the day with me, and then we get drinks and dinner and a night, and it's kind of teasing all along. It's a long, drawn out process. But what I got was the $10 fucking handy in the back of my Buick Bonneville.
Dang, that really paints a picture. Well, that's a little disappointing because the trailer looked really, really good. I mean, of course, anything would look better than what we had been served in the last attempt to reboot the franchise. So this was looking like a breath of fresh air in comparison. And it sounds like it, if I was going to sit and write a Ghostbusters film for the, today's audience, it kind of sounds like what I would do. And it worries me because it sounded like it wasn't very effective. And that's a bit of a bummer.
It was just like, it's more like I led with my dad and I thought my dad and I would like it more than my daughter, but it was the opposite. My daughter liked it more than us. So it worked for a younger audience, at least in her regard. I think it just for the older audience, the people that grew up with that, it was very transparent what they were doing. Whereas for my daughter, it might be like, oh, this is like new to me and cool. And I see kids doing this stuff, I suppose.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Well, it's funny we bring up Ghostbusters for a reboot because we also last night watched a film that maybe they're going to reboot. I'm not totally sure, but that would be Matrix Resurrections. Oh boy, I am a massive, massive Matrix fan. Remember renting it in 2000 when it came out on DVD and watched it like 4 times that night with my dad because we didn't know what was going on. And we just loved everything about the film, its pacing and everything. And I think it's out of the whole series, it's the one that holds up the best. But this new one is, I've seen a bunch of people, especially everyone who watched it last night with you, Gweedo, kind of have be mostly negative about it, or at least at the very end, just saying it's all right. And I totally agree with that. I think the first bit of it is awful because it's making fun of itself a little too much, a little too on the nose. But
yeah,
in a way,
I felt like the Wachowski siblings, like they were ashamed of the first movie.
Right. They went like brutal almost. Like there's a scene where they're in a writer's room of this game studio and Neo's there with them. He still doesn't know he's hold on. This whole thing's going to be spoilers because there's just no way of dancing around it. There's too much to unpack. So you may just want to skip a lot.
Yeah, or just like stop right now, go watch it. It's on HBO Max. Everybody's got it. Your uncle will give you his password. Just fucking text him.
Yeah, just do it. I personally think it's worth watching. Well, if you enjoy Matrix and you don't mind it all being tainted just a bit more than you'd like, then go and watch it. But ultimately, you're not missing much. And if you've never seen Matrix before, just go watch the trilogy. You'll be way happier with that. But anyways, they're in this writer's room talking about the Matrix. And at this time, the robots had taken Neo and Trinity and basically brainwashed them to think that their whole story was a video game. And so then they're talking about, the Matrix trilogy. Oh, it had these cool bullet time effects. Oh, I didn't really like that second one. It was kind of shitty. Yeah, but everyone's like, oh, Matrix. We can't shut up about the fucking Matrix. And I was like, yikes, this is okay, but it goes on for so long. I swear at least 30 minutes of this 2-hour movie is just about dissing the Matrix.
They had a montage of dissing the Matrix.
You're right.
Played one pill makes you larger and another does the stuff. They played that over a montage of people like, you know what Matrix means to me? It means mayhem. And they're shooting Nerf guns. Like, Matrix means bullet time to me. Like, it's so fucking weird, man. It was weird.
It was very weird. And I was sitting there watching this, and Megan had never seen it before. And she's like asking me, what's going on? I'm like, I don't really know. And I will give it that. Going into this, I had not seen any trailers, I just saw stills, and that's all I had seen. And it was not what I expected. And it honestly kind of made me feel like the first time I saw the original Matrix. Things were happening, and at that time I had no point of reference of the entire series, and I was just confused. That's why I want to watch it again with my dad so we could figure out exactly what all was going on, because it's a lot of like allegory and stuff like that. But this was more of, where the hell are they going with this? It's not as good as that initial feeling of watching the first one. This was just more of, is this whole movie just making fun of me for liking the Matrix? Is it making fun of the creators for making it? I kind of feel like it's for a British term, it's taking the piss, and I don't think it's helping the film. It's you see where it goes, because they're trying to downplay it to Neo, so that way he stays in the Matrix. They kind of keep this paradigm in place. Then eventually, kind of like with the first movie, he breaks out of it and then fights against it. So it's very much a retelling of the first movie, which is why I kind of would say it's a reboot in many ways.
Yeah, they do touch on a lot of the stuff that happened in the second and third movies. Quite a bit, especially whenever the fucking general Niobe or whatever her name was talking. But that whole first act I thought was atrocious. I thought it was bad. It was just a bad movie, and I was disappointed. And I fell asleep when I was watching it last night. Yeah, I fell asleep right when the movie starts taking a turn and getting moderately better, at least not to where it's just a dumpster fire of garbage. But I finished watching it today, and it does get better if you're watching it and you're like, oh, you're an hour in and you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I got another hour and 15 minutes left in me. I guess keep going, but then again, who am I to tell you to keep going? Stop if you don't like it. It doesn't get much better.
Right. And you talking about Ghostbusters just really made me think of that. Like, is this film not really made for me? Is someone who's half my age going to watch this and be like, oh, wow, this is so cool. They're making fun of something that I know is popular, and maybe I haven't seen it before. I know nothing about it. But honestly, I don't think that's the case, because I think if I knew nothing about the film, like my wife did, she would have shut it off within like 30 minutes. And I can't imagine a younger kid being like, why is this old guy listening to all these people talk shit about him, basically, in kind of a way. We know he's the Matrix. He's the main character. Why am I listening to them riff on all this? Like, it's not entertaining. It's not fun. It's more confusing to someone who has knowledge of the series and how it all happened, because we're still wondering, is he actually alive? He died in the last film, him and Trinity. So is this just a weird prank film almost? I don't know. I feel like an idiot watching it. Yeah, it's just it's so shocking, but you're right. After you get past that, and what cracks me up the most is how much they make fun of the film, but they rely so much on showing clips. I hate films when they just show constant clips.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's so annoying.
So pandery and just like, hey, idiot. Hey, you fucking idiot. Remember this guy? That's Morpheus, you fucking piece of garbage. Huh? How about this? You remember that fight that Trinity got in? You absolute scumbag. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, like you freaking cow. You remember this iconic fight scenes, these iconic characters? Yeah, we hate them, but we're going to have to keep reminding you because we think you're fucking stupid.
Yep. Oh, by the way, you probably failed all your high school classes because you liked the first Matrix, you goddamn stupid idiot pig. You goddamn oinker. Why don't you go roll around in some mud, you fucking interbate?
So yeah, that's what it makes you feel like. If that's what they were going for, they succeeded, but oh boy, why? That's my biggest question. Why? Because you're right. Once you get past that, once he finally realizes this isn't real, he's being basically held captive and kept alive for the sake of keeping the Matrix the way it is, which I also don't totally understand why it's based so much around him.
I think him and Trinity are like super batteries, and that's why they wanted
what they said?
them.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if that's just kind of what I gleaned. They were in their two separate pods right next to each other that were all seemed to be away from everybody else, and I think Doogie Howser mentioned something about how good they were. I don't know.
Okay. It makes sense. And that's the kind of stuff I kind of liked. I like when they were, finally the revelation happens of what happened after they died. They basically took their bodies and worked on them, and it was you got just little bits of body horror, very, very mild. But that was kind of cool, and I liked the setting that the way it looked with the two pods facing each other, and they were in them and basically being kept alive against their will. That was kind of cool, and that's when I felt like the film started getting really good. But man, that's like an hour and 20 minutes into the film after you've gone through this punching bag of turning the film on. Like, it's just so bizarre, but not in like that's really clever. I feel like that's what they thought. Oh, we're being really clever, when it's like it's like a caveman logic. Like, yeah, we get what's going on. You don't have to keep telling us and showing us. We know the new black guy, bald guy is Morpheus. That's not hard to pick up on,
Morpheus. He says that like 7 times. Like,
I know.
Anytime Morpheus shows up, he's like, "Oh, Morpheus!" Like, even he did it to a statue of him. He's like, Morpheus.
You're right, and they constantly kept when they were trying to convince him of the, you need to take the pill. This is what's going on. All that stuff. That's fine, but they just constantly kept showing the clip. I mean, it's an iconic clip, but why do we have to keep doing this over and over? Do it once. The time that they did it when he was in like the little stage area of I guess some movie theater, that was kind of cool. Like, I liked how it was like projected onto the curtain, but the curtain was ripped. It was a cool setup, but we had already seen that same setup like 3 times prior. So at this point, it's like, just get over it.
Wouldn't it be great if the new Morpheus shows up and he's like, "Hey, you want to get Trinity back, huh? You want to get Trinity back? How about this? I'm going to red pill you, all right? First, you got a nigger. You got a nigger into oblivion. Tell her she looks like trash, but then be real nice to her. I'm going to red pill you." And he just turns Neo into like this weird pickup artist. I'd watch that.
It's more fascinating than what happened. but I don't know. The movie's fine. Ultimately, it's as you say, Guido. You got to get past that slump at the beginning. Maybe some people who had never seen The Matrix before, maybe they'll find some humor in it. But as a fan, and I'm not willing. I'm very much willing to say the previous two films were not great. This one going into, I was like, this is kind of a fresh start. Let's see what happens. It made too much fun of itself, yet relied on itself too much. And there's a point you can do that's classy. It's not like not referencing previous films is bad all the time. It's okay to do it, but you make it quick and you do it a little more stylish, and also realize your viewers probably smart. They probably know what's going on. Don't just think they're idiots unless that's your intention. And that's my fear, is maybe that was the intention.
Yeah, I didn't like how Neo devolved into basically like a Sue Storm, like an invisible woman just making force shields around everything, force pushing everything away towards the end of the movie. Like all the kung fu is gone, and he's just, I get it. Keanu's pretty old. He probably can't, even some of those, they didn't have to slow the footage down. They just shot it at regular speed, and it was Keanu's regular working speed.
Right.
That's how slow he was moving.
Yep.
But there's one part that kind of made it all worthwhile for me. It's very short. It was just a cool idea, and it was delivered well. It was my favorite part of the movie. And that's when they're riding the bike, Trinity's got him on it, and he's riding on the back, force pushing cars out of the way. And there's a point where the agent Smith takes over the swarm or something, and can Matrix inhabits people, and they're chasing down this big zombie swarm of Matrix bots, I suppose. And there's a point where they make them wake up out of bed in their high rises and jump out of the windows at them, like dive bombing. Yeah, I thought that was super cool. It was a cool idea. Like, oh yeah, they could do that, and I like that they took that risk and did it. I suppose it was just a neat visual.
Agreed. Totally agreed. And even a little, made me feel a little uneasy.
Yeah, just these people, like if we're in the Matrix, that could happen, man. We could be sleeping in our beds, and all of a sudden I'm jumping out of a high rise to my demise to kill fucking Bill and Ted.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That was a really, really cool scene. Well, go watch it. It's I feel like I've had to say this constantly I'm still sitting here looking at the list of other films to talk about, and I feel like I've explained it the same way to anyone who's asked me about them. It's this massive roller coaster, and you go through some really big lows, some really maybe not high highs, but nice little scenic views, and it just all kind of evens out at the end. At the end, you're like, it was kind of bad, kind of good, but overall watchable. And I feel like that kind of sums up 2021 films, because we use Letterboxd. I really like it. You rate your films out of 5 stars, but excuse me, most of the films I saw that came out in 2021, I'd say the average is 2.5. I think the highest film I gave was The Green Knight. I gave it a 4.
Yeah, I give that one a very low mark.
Which I am super curious about. I mean, the film's not great. I think it could have been better. I don't know. I feel like the pacing and the writing was a little off where it should have been. But I thought it was overall a good film. Why did you want to give it a 1? What did you not care for?
I thought it was beautiful, and that's where my good news stops. It's such a well-shot, beautiful movie. The color, the costumes, the production. It was all very pretty. But I just I walked out of the theater and I didn't feel anything. I actually kind of felt glad it was over. because it's a little hard to follow. And like the symbolism is there, but it's all this kind of heavy-handed symbolism, and you're supposed to extrapolate a meaning from it, and I just didn't have the ambition to do that. Like, I didn't care enough to try and figure out the theme or the moral that it was telling me. You know, I got an inkling, and I was like, oh, I'm satisfied with what I took away from this, which wasn't much, but I'm trying to even think of what I like thought of it at the end. He was just coming to terms with his own death, or how he would never live up to King Arthur's court. And I don't even remember, because I didn't put that much thought or effort into trying to figure it out, you know?
Sure. Oh, I totally get you there. There is a lot of symbolism, and it has various amounts of success, but it quickly, by about the third act, it starts getting into like grinding your gears territory. Like, just get on with the story. Let's keep moving. I don't need to sit and see him jizz in his hand. And that's some symbolism.
I love that part.
You enjoyed that part. That was your favorite.
Oh,
that's
man.
What gave it
I
the
wanted a
$1.
$10 handy in the bag of a beer, and I got it.
You did. You know, I thought it was kind of cool at the very end. I liked you, and usually I don't like this when, you know, you get to the very end part, then it shows him run away, all the bad stuff happening, his castle being taken over and killed or whatever. But then it zooms back to him like, you know, he just thought of that outcome and then decided against it and went the right way, and basically accepting his mistake. You know, he should not have killed this guy, even in a game, and he's accepting that he made a mistake and he's going to live with the consequences. Cool. Neat story. Well shot. The whole scene was simple. It was nice. Really enjoyed it. But there's just a lot of those scenes, and they do start wearing on you after a bit. But I think the one that hurt me the most was pretty early on in the film. On his journey, he comes across a guy, and they're talking. Well, he gets robbed. He loses all of his weapons, his horse, the axe, loses all of it. And so he's wandering around for a while, but eventually, through all these like weird symbolism moments, he gets all that stuff back, which I just think is kind of lame. Because I want to see him. I wanted to see something more interesting. Like, no, he couldn't just run after them because he's totally unarmed. He get killed. He's lucky he's alive anyways. But it just would have been more interesting if they fit that in, like maybe him learning things or learning more things about himself, how he could be better. And then he used all those tools to eventually get his stuff back, instead of it just appearing in the room with him after he talks to some lady in the water. That's just kind of like, ugh, you know, it's lame.
Yeah. It was a few like head scratcher moments in that movie where I was like, I'm sure there's a reason that they did it this way, but I don't want to use any of my brain to figure out why.
Well, and the film doesn't really even give you a moment, like, and you don't really care that much about him. Like,
No,
you know, the film doesn't really build him up. He is, other than being, you know, kind of down on himself, or as you said, not feeling worthy. You know, that's you know, we could all feel that way. So that's one way we can kind of connect with the character, but I don't feel like they work on that enough to get you fully invested. Other than it's Dev Patel, he's a really good actor, very good, so he can play the role great. But the character itself, I don't really care that much about. So it came down to like what you said, it visually looking very interesting, feeling a little eerie at times, and what stuff does happen on screen is kind of neat in that allegorical, mysterious way. But in the end, it's a dude went to go see the night that he fought in a game and decided that, you know, he has to do the right thing and let him do what he did to him. And like, okay, moving on, you know. But for me, it was by far the better film that I had seen. I guess considering my list, it's the best film I'd seen so far of this year, and that is kind of sad. Honestly, it's kind of sad.
Yeah. I'm sure there's something that I'm not thinking about, but you'd think if there was a movie that I really enjoyed, it would come to the surface.
Yeah, and it's not. I'm looking through here. We've got, and this is just all stuff in no particular order. We had G.I. Joe Origins, Snake Eyes. That was okay. Gave that a 2. I think the only other movie I gave a pretty decent review was Jungle Cruise. I gave it a 3. It was actually a pretty fun movie. I recommend it. It was a fun time. But that's just bad. Old was awful. I was hoping maybe M. Night Shyamalan would, turn things around, but that movie was terrible.
Is he aboard the hack ship?
Oh my God. Yes. I hate to say that because I really think he tries, because he's, Old is a movie concept that, you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, they're on a beach, they're all getting older, they have to find a way to get off. Very simple premise, nothing too crazy. But you could definitely see a good film there, and it's a bit of a risk. It's not like freaking Scorsese telling the same story a billion times. This is something. Hey, let's get some Irish people, and so let's have them get mad at each other.
All right, please don't compare Shyamalan to Scorsese in my presence.
So I will give it to him that he tried something interesting and wasn't just maybe, I guess in his example, making The Sixth Sense for the billionth time. But I would have to say that he's probably on the hack ship, but he's on the lower deck.
Try anything interesting. He went to goddamn his kid's open house and he heard a 5th grader like a few doors down be like, what if when we went to the beach, we had it so that we would get older, but you wouldn't know that we got old. You would think that we're just old people, but we did it so that we're older. He heard that from across the hall and he's like, that's gold, kid. And he made a shitty ass movie out of it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the script was awful. The acting was awful. The story was not nearly interesting enough or coherent enough to make you want to stay engaged. I had to just power through it, just hoping that maybe there was a cool ending. It's not a cool ending. It's not even anything that, like, it's basically a bunch of scientists found a place that emanates this weird, like, time thing of some sort, and they've been studying it forever, and they're the one group of many that have went through this and died, but 2 did escape. Like, okay, well, that's really cool and all, but it'd be great if I gave a shit about anyone who's even there. I was kind of hoping they'd hurry up and die so we can end this movie. It's sad. It's really sad because it's a concept that could be really good, but he got his hands on it somehow. I think he may have been one of the writers and just ruined it. And you can't say anything but bad direction. The director's over all of it. He's looked at the writing. He's looked at the actors. So when it comes to everything coming together and it's just all bad, he's the first person you point to because he's in charge of it all. It's sad. It really sucks, but it's bad.
Bummer. Is there any movie that you're looking forward to?
Nope.
That you have high hopes for?
Not right now. I do not. I don't have one movie that I'm excited for because James Bond came out this year. Went and saw that. I fell asleep through 30 minutes of it. Woke back up to the ending, which was the only part that was okay, but even it was kind of sad, but not because the film made it sad. It was just more because of you'd been with this Bond character through this whole series, and it was sad to see the send off, and also kind of neat as a Bond fan because this has never happened before, where we actually saw an end of a character. So that was kind of cool, but that's one small scene out of the rest of the movie that's very boring and not interesting, and it looks like no one wants to be there. Especially Daniel Craig. I think the last two films, it's felt like he did not want to be there. And it's sad. It's a bummer. That was the first big blow for me this year. Seeing how bad that movie was. And boy, I mean, just look at this Hitman's Wife Bodyguard. I am so sick of Ryan Reynolds. I am
man. Come on.
He's awful. He is just so not funny, not interesting at all. It's like, and I feel like it was just a turning point after what's that movie? Not Hitman. What's the movie where he wears the spandex and runs around?
Deadpool,
thank you. Like after that point, it feels like every character he plays is just that, and maybe he's always been that way. I'm not sure. So it's just ran its course. I mean, like with Adam Sandler or anyone like that, they kind of fit into that mold of a character, and they just can't break out of it. Or that's just what everyone wants.
Adam Sandler even still at least switches it up.
That's true. He has that one movie he did where he's a jeweler. I still haven't watched that one yet.
Adam Sandler's underrated.
Underrated? Ooh, I don't know.
He's
about
underrated.
I don't know.
If I could pick the Hollywood career I'd like to model the most, it would be Adam Sandler. Because he just picks a movie where he and his buddies can go on vacation and hit record on a movie camera, and then get paid giant amounts of dollars for it. And then occasionally he'll come out of left field with a Punch Drunk or a fucking Uncut Gems or something, where he gets to stretch his chops. And then he's got his own projects that he likes to work on. It's like, it's the perfect well-rounded career. I respect him.
You know what? I respect that view of him. You know, I completely disagree, but all the points you make up are very good. And I cannot disagree with the points you've made.
Look, he's going to make some stinkers, but he's going to get paid for it and have a good time making them.
Well, I think he makes stinkers is kind of my problem. If
you think if someone else was in the role of fucking Herbie Halloween, that it would have been a success, Biggie?
No. I think the concept of the film is fine. I think you can make a good movie out of any concept. It's just everything else you put into it. And that comes down to the acting, the writing, cinematography, when you're got everything together, how are you going to pace it out that it keeps whatever momentum that you're wanting to have for the film, so it doesn't get too short or drags on too long. But I think any story concept you throw out there, if you had a wall of just random words, I know this has been done to death, and you just had a dart and you just threw like 5 darts at stuff, you could make a story out of it that could work. Maybe not theatrical, maybe be a short story, but a film of some sort. And the fact that he has all these concepts, a brother and his fat sister go on a cruise, funny concept. You could do something with it. Herbie Halloween, funny concept. You could do something with it. But the fact that he goes so lazy, like the easiest options you could pick to just keep the movie going along so you can cash those checks and make all the advertisers happy. I can't give him a pass on that. Great business model.
You can't abide by it, huh?
I can't. Great business model. You're not joking there. I mean, Netflix is paying him $shit-zillion to pump out these stinkers. And that gives him, as you said, a chance to do other films that are more interesting, that allow him to do something. But I just can't get him over that level of just being kind of lazy. I don't know.
Is it because he wears basketball shorts everywhere?
It is. It is. You're totally right.
He's of your kind, Biggie.
He is. I know. I think we get along very well. And honestly, I like all the people he has in his films. David Spade, I like him as a
named
person. I like David Spade as a person, as an actor. Yikes! But he's done some okay stuff. I don't know. I just can't. I can't give him as much of a pass as you did. But I do like the points you make, though. They're very good points.
Yeah.
But we've seen some big directors make some shit movies this year. Let's see, who's this guy again? It's the
Ridley
No Sudden
Scott
Moves.
made 2 of them.
Oh my god, they bombed hard. That Last Duel did not do well. And then that Gucci movie, Gucci Gang or whatever it's called.
Gucci Gang.
Exactly. I mean, he's just, you know what? I've been saying it for years now. I can actually say that. I think one of the first years we did this, I was saying he was a hack, and he is, and it's showing. And this, he didn't come up with a film this year. At least I don't think he does. But someone I will add to the boat is David Fincher. I think he has gotten way more praise than he deserves. Because I finally watched Zodiac. And I hadn't seen it before, and Meg and I sat and watched it. And boy, talk about a movie that does not end. Like, it just keeps going and going and retreading and treading over it again. The acting is okay. It's not great. But it's more the writing, man. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, basically he has Fight Club. Like, I think he's rode on the curtails of Fight Club for so long, and every other movie he's made has just been like, it's okay. Social Network's okay. But then you got ones that are
Gone Girl.
Gone Girl's not good.
Gone Girl's good.
Is not a good movie. It's the same problem. It's way too strung out on one concept. I can get as a book, it could be really, which is what it's based on. That could be really good. Go into a lot of neat details on the characters. And there's only so much you can do of that in a film and keep it to 2 hours. But as a film, it's just like, oh, he's the bad guy. I'm running. I'm scared. And then it's just like, okay, now it's time to flip the script. I'm the bad person. I'm a real bitch. And I'm going to just kill everyone. And it's like, okay, as a book, this would be way more interesting. But as a movie, it's just boring and way too drawn out. And I blame it on him. He shouldn't have took the project. It just wouldn't work. Same way with the Dragon Tattoo movie. Not great. Probably maybe in the running of one of his worst movies.
I've never seen that movie.
It's not worth watching. I watched it because it's kind of the height of Daniel Craig as Bond. I'm like, oh, this could be cool to see him in a big movie that's not Bond. And it's a sleeper. Why it didn't really get much praise to begin with. I think he's fine. He's better than most, but I do feel like he needs to get a little chink out of his armor. He needs to be a little more exposed than he is. That he's okay. He as far as good directors goes, he is an okay one.
Here's a thought for you.
Okay.
Daniel Craig is a better Benoit Blanc than James Bond.
Benoit Blanc. What is that?
That's the inspector in Knives Out.
Oh, okay. Yes. Oh boy, that's a tough one.
He needs to build the resume a bit more. You know, he's got 2 more movies coming out in that franchise, but I think it's going to prove he's going to be remembered for that more than Bond, I think.
Oof. It's possible. If the quality of the film for the other 2 are on par with the first one, then I would say yes. And that worries me a little because I don't know if they can string this concept out over 2 films and it still be fresh. I mean, you could say the same thing about Bond, obviously, but I do agree. This was the first film since he took the Bond role on that I truly felt like he was excited to do. You know, you could just tell when someone has that energy to do something a little more creative. Even though the whole concept of the film isn't necessarily new, but it was a fun movie. He got to play a fun character that was definitely not British. And that was cool. I like to see that from him. And he did do an outstanding job. You could almost say, I mean, he carried the movie, even though everything else was also really well done. But I don't know if I can go that far, because he is in, I mean, for a legacy that James Bond has, he is easily in the top 3, maybe an argument for number 1, maybe.
Yeah, that might be true, but James Bond is a character from a bygone era. I said it.
Yeah.
That character's ready to be put out to pasture. They don't need another one.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. For being a big fan, I kind of feel that way, honestly. If they said that this last film was going to be it, I think I might breathe a bit of a sigh of relief, because I definitely do not know if I want to see another Daniel Craig Bond, or even honestly, when I started hearing that Idris Elba, if I pronounced that correctly,
that's close enough.
Thank
Idris
you.
Elba.
Idris Elba. That he was maybe going to be in the running to be the next Bond. I mean, I get he's just a British guy. He's black, so that's definitely different. But, you know, at least it would show to me that they're looking outside of that idea. I don't know about a female being a Bond. I don't know if you should really do that. Just if you're going to have a Bond-esque female, you probably just need to make a new character. But, you know, someone like him could be kind of interesting. But still, I agree with you. You know, your concept, it's like Indiana Jones. The concept is going to be the same. He likes to drink. He likes to sleep with women. He does spy stuff, kind of. And he's witty. And all that's kind of cool, but it does feel a little worn out.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
I don't know.
You know, this year just sucked. I'm sorry, guys. I think the best movies I watched were from other years. Brazil was so stinking good. I can't believe I didn't watch that.
I remember you talking about that last episode.
Oh, did I talk about
so
that?
It stuck with you for a while.
It really has. It's such a good movie. Like, I just absolutely loved it. But, you know, other than that, Quiet Place that was actually last year. Never mind. Maybe I watched it this year. Yeah, it wasn't good.
Quiet Place Part 2? That was this year, wasn't
it? It's showing 2020, so it must have been late last year, because I thought it was early this year it came out. But I do want to talk about what you think is the worst film you watched, because I have one in particular.
Oof,
that's pretty bad. I made a whole
put me on
list.
the spot. One that stands out as being not fun at all and seems to be highly regarded for some reason is the movie Titane, which is I think it's French. It's a French movie about dealing with trauma. It's a lot. There's these hyper violent moments, which I wanted more of, but then it gets to be a bit too much, and it's like trying to shock you. It's the movie equivalent of like a 20-year-old on open mic night at like a comedy club.
Ooh, that's fascinating.
Just trying to get stuff to get a reaction, and it's most of the time not good.
Really?
But it does get a reaction. It's just not the reaction that they probably would have hoped for. But people seem to really like it, maybe for the deeper symbolism of the end scene of it all. But yeah, basically it's rough. This girl gets knocked up by a car.
Wait, what?
This girl gets pregnant by a car.
By a car?
Yeah, there's symbolism in there. It's not really a car, but That's how
Interesting.
her trauma interprets it, and that's how the scene is portrayed: is her getting fucked by a car.
Wow. Okay. Well, you've got me interested again. Because I have it saved on my computer. I have not clicked play yet. And I'd heard some of your all's reactions after you watched it, and it kind of, I was like, it bums me out. Although I kind of expected maybe it would not be. It was on that line of like it could be like a really interesting film, or just they tried too hard, as you said, and it just nothing worked.
Yeah,
It's just trying to be more shocking than thought provoking or even interesting to watch.
there's definitely some good body horror if you're into that. Like, there's
For real.
some cool. Like, I liked it more for that kind of stuff. But it's just a bit too on the nose and heavy-handed, and yeah, I think I cut it a bit more slack than most of the people that I watched it with. But that said, it's still not a good movie, and I wouldn't suggest anyone really watch it.
Ah, such a bummer, man. Early on, it looked very fascinating. Interesting visuals from some of the stills that were released. That's a bummer.
What about you? What's your one?
I've got two, and shoot. Actually, I have a whole list. Maybe I'll touch on a couple just quickly. Jake Gyllenhaal? He released a movie called The Guilty on Netflix, and it's god awful. Don't watch it. They basically filmed it during quarantine, and it shows. There was another movie called The Voyeurs, and it's only good for one reason, and that's the main actress.
Oh, boobies!
You do get to see it. She's a beautiful lady, and but boy, that film is awful. But the one that is just an absolute stinker and shouldn't come to any surprise, because I only watched about 25 minutes of it, and that was too long. And that was the Space Jam movie.
Oh, I didn't even bother.
it's-
I knew going in.
Oh, I felt the same way. I was like, well, I've got that. They got me. Like, I've got HBO. Might as well just turn it on. I could just turn it off, and that's exactly what happened. I guess people got paid, so that's a good thing about the movie, I guess. But other than that, man, you talk about an ad. Like, it's an expensive ad, and people were right. That's exactly what it is. Void of content. What's there is just sad, man. It's just so sad. It's a film that just makes you wonder, did everyone on the project, like, is this what they wanted to make? Like, you spend all these years, we shit on films constantly. I shit on films constantly, but there is that understanding that people's time, energy, stress, all that go into making these things. It's not easy. It's really hard to make a movie.
You'd think that they would sit down at a giant conference table before anything happens and be like, all right, let's figure out who this movie's for. What's our demo here?
Right. Yeah, what are we trying to accomplish here? Who are we targeting? All right, is this a film that we would want to watch? Even because you can tell that too, it all channels into the film. If you got something that people are excited for, not everyone's going to be excited about the same thing, and that's okay. But I feel like the majority of the people, even though if it's not content that they would normally would watch, are still like, there's some value here. There is value that maybe I won't get as much of, but someone else will. This is a movie that I can't see anyone getting any value out of. And that is just sad, because Looney Tunes are neat. LeBron James is a really good basketball player. Surely I can get something of substance out of this, but man, you just can't. I would love to hear an argument for this movie. I would be fascinated.
There's a guy out there that's like, that's his favorite movie.
Right.
There's someone out there that is right now probably telling someone at work. He probably works at a Wendy's. And he's brought it. He brought it up for the fucking sixth time today. Made a reference. He's like, he took a wrapper from a fucking Wendy's Junior Burger and tossed it into the garbage from 10 feet away, and then nudged his coworker, and he's like, that was just like the final seconds of the Space Jam movie, what I just did right there. And his coworker's like, holy fuck, dude. Again, with the Space Jam, like the first one, the one in the 90s wasn't even that good, dude. And this one's way worse, and it's LeBron. He's just getting upset with him. But he sticks to his guns. He goes home after his shift at Wendy's, and he pops it on again. And he's probably got his favorite parts that he scrubs to at this point. I'm sure he's not watching the whole movie over and over. But
sure,
yeah, it's his favorite. He's got the Toon Squad jersey. Someone probably got that for him for Christmas. Yeah, he's out there. That guy is there.
I really hope that person doesn't exist.
I hope he's listening to this show. He's like, they're talking about me. And he calls in next week.
If this person exists, please send us an email. I will get you on the pod, and we will just do an episode of this. Because
you can tell us all about Space Jam.
Please, if you can convert me to loving Space Jam, the new legacy, I honestly don't know what I would do. I'd have to really rethink life, I think, at that point, because boy, oh boy, it is. I mean, going into it, I thought it'd be bad, and very rarely do I go into a movie thinking it's bad and it ends up being worse. It's shocking. So I have to put it there, but probably the film that I was most disappointed of was a movie called Mainstream, and it stars Andrew Garfield, and someone who I just root for constantly. He's such a good actor. Hacksaw Ridge is probably the only movie he's got a lot of recognition from, the Academy and stuff like that. And he's also the lead in Tick Tick Boom, which he does a good job in, even though personally I think the rest of it just doesn't live up to what it should have been. But Mainstream was just such a cool concept of a film. It's just to put all as short as possible. He's just some what's the word for it? Homeless guy, just kind of wandering around. This girl who's big into photography and YouTube and stuff finds him, and then they create a YouTube show that just gets really popular. It gets picked up by a network, and he just spirals out of control. It does a lot of I guess allegory is not commentary would be the better word of, what we see today, kids doing stuff on TikTok because it's popular, or being influenced by an influencer who doesn't give two shits about you. They're doing it for, themselves and or the money or the fame, all that. But, you're getting yourself into trouble, and just being in that position to be rich, powerful, and very influential to make people do things that they shouldn't be doing. And cool concept. The problem is it's like it was made by, an 18-year-old for their first film, or they wrote the script out, and then it was handed off to another 18-year-old who's going to be their first time directing. And this is what they made. It's just really bad. And he tries his hardest to carry the whole thing, but everyone else in the film is just awful. The writing's awful. The pacing's awful. It's just a bad movie. But that just makes it disappointing because the concept's really cool. And it could have been great.
Dang. It's like it was made on a Monday.
Yeah. But you have any other films?
Hates Monday.
He does. Good. Do you have any other films you want to talk about?
No, not really. I mean, I'm the movie I'm looking forward to right now is Licorice Pizza, the Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I hope. It's been a while since I've had a good coming of age movie, and I think that might scratch that itch for me. And then, the new Batman, I hope it's good. And then Spider-Man, I'm going to see that on Sunday. I'm looking forward to that.
Nice. We'll probably do another episode around Oscar season, so I'll be very excited to hear your thoughts on the Spider-Man film, because, man, it is making so much money. Holy crap.
That's good. Right in time for movie theaters to shut down again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know one movie, talking about something we're excited for. It's out right now that I really want to see, Nightmare Alley. Really interested in that one. And that'll probably do it for me for the year, but I look at my list. I guess going into next year, I'm kind of interested in the sequel to Edge of Tomorrow. I really enjoyed the first one a lot. It's just a really fun film. So they're doing a sequel. I'm sure it's not going to be nearly as good, but still, I'm interested in it. But I guess I just need to look at the schedule for next year and find something to look forward to, because I'm just, man, I don't know. Just haven't found much yet. But hey, if you want to share your thoughts on any films out of 2021, if it came out that year, or maybe it didn't come out that year, and it's just something that just really stuck with you, and you want to chat about it, please shoot us an email at justokmovies@gmail.com, or send us a tweet at justokmovies. We love to hear about it. And I'm serious about the Space Jam. Anyone who has some serious arguments for that movie and why it's good, and I want sincere arguments, let me know. I want to talk to you very, very badly. But anyways, we actually had, we will gladly talk to you about it. It's just, I'm not going to make fun of you. None of us are going to make fun of you.
I might make fun of you.
Okay, Guido might make fun of you. I'm genuinely curious. I stand up here, feels like, at least we're doing it weekly, almost every week, defending a really shitty movie.
I stand up here once a month or once a year.
Once a year. Exactly. Well, we actually have a voicemail from our good friend Ingy, and I'm going to go ahead and play it right now. Let's check it out.
Hello, Just Okay Movies, my
Hi,
favorite podcast. Appreciate you guys still going strong, and I've been meaning to leave this one for a while. Last time you asked for movies to watch and talk about the next episode. I watched a lot of movies since then, but I put down 4. One I didn't like, one I liked to dislike, one I liked, and one I loved. So one I didn't like, The Talented Mr. Ripley. I know I thought it was supposed to be good, but I thought it was kind of long and boring and unoriginal, maybe just because it's old. One I like to dislike was The House That Jack Built with Matt Dillon. It's a bonkers movie by Lars von Trier. I watched it after listening to a podcast called TESD that I know Gweedo also listens to. They talked about it on there and how bonkers it was. It's not a good movie. It's a bad movie, but it's so out there and weird that it's at least interesting. A movie I liked, but I thought I would like more, was Big Fish by Tim Burton. It was alright. I didn't love it. I thought it was just pretty good. And a movie I really loved was Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. I'd never seen it, heard about it, watched it for the first time, and it was absolutely amazing. And I'm planning to watch the whole trilogy of Eastwood movies, Fistful of Dollars movies. So take your pick. You've probably seen at least one or two of these, maybe all. So yeah, miss you guys. It's Inky, by the way. Inky Thor. Okay, bye.
Hey, bye. Wow, Ingy, what an eclectic group of movies.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed.
Holy cow. He's going to call us next time with his top 10 movies.
No, I love it. Absolutely love it. I feel bad. I've never seen Talented Mr. Ripley or House That Jack Built. I'm going to add those to my list because they sound, especially the House That Jack Built, sounds very fascinating. But yeah, Big Fish, solid movie, but I agree with you. I kind of would feel the same way about it.
Yeah, Big Fish is fine. I think that's my sister's favorite movie.
For real?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I don't know.
definitely
Maybe
a
I'm
solid
wrong.
movie.
I remember her liking that for some reason. Maybe it's the book. Is it a book?
That I don't know.
I know I've seen it on stage before, too.
Oh, really?
Is it a theater adaptation? I don't know. It's fine. Yeah, Big Fish. Good. dad tells fake stories. He's a goddamn liar. That's what I got out of that movie. Oh, boo-hoo. My liar dad died. Yeah, go cry me a river. And then float on it up the Amazon and run into a bridge troll and give it your pocket watch so that it tells you 5 riddles that'll get you to the new jungle hut quicker than last time. What? Come on, big fish.
Wow, Ingy, you really struck a nerve on Big Fish. What, like a 15-year-old movie? Wow, fascinating. Unforgiven, I agree. Really, really good. Although out of them, I think Good and Bad, the Ugly is still my favorite, which is not an original idea. You know, it's definitely a film that's just a blast and very iconic, especially the ending scene. So if you like Unforgiven, I think you'll really enjoy Good, Bad, the Ugly.
Yeah, I like Cry Macho. That's where Clint Eastwood actually is the crypt keeper from Tales from the Crypt. And he makes friends with another ethnic child like he does in movies these days. And he's crotchety and old man and somehow gets into fistfights when he's 98 years old. Yeah, that's the one where he's like, hey, come to my crypt and let me sling my metals for you. And he spins his guns around. And then like the Indian or Asian or, inner city black kid will be like, hey, what you talking about? What you talking about, Eastwood? That's my favorite of the Clint Eastwood movies.
I can see why. Classic. Absolutely classic. Well, I guess we'll end it there. Gweedo, thank you so much, man, for hopping on here, doing this end of year movie review thing, whatever it is.
Yeah. No, I had fun. We should do this more often.
We should. Meg and I were talking about that. Like, I love doing especially chatting with you, Gweedo, because you're just such a good person to chat to about movies or really anything. But it's like, I don't, of course, man. I don't know if I missed the weekly grind though. I think I love podcasting up to that point, because it really does wear on you after a while. It's tough to get on every week and like, okay, what the hell am I going to talk about today?
Yeah, it's a little tough. We should set some sort of precedent. Like if 4 people ping Biggie Size to do another episode, then he'll do it, right? Does that seem fair?
Yeah, if you just send a strong worded argument or plea or something, I don't know, like what Gweedo said, like, hey, I watched this movie, it was really bad, convince me otherwise, or something, then there's a good chance that we'll hop on and do an episode.
Or just a simple like, hey, it's been 3 weeks since the last episode. Can you make another one, please?
Yeah, make us feel wanted.
Yeah.
Please want us. That's all we ask.
Nobody asked for this episode.
No. I asked Gweedo, I'm like, hey, you want to talk about movies for a bit? And they're like, yeah, sure. This is great. Yeah. That's all it takes. Well, anyways, please let us know if there's something, a topic or a film or something that you want to talk about, and it may just spur us to hop on here and do an episode, because we do it for you guys. We kind of do it for us, too, because we like making fun of each other and shitting about movies or even praising them, but mostly shitting on them. But, we also want to do it for you all, too. So if you find it entertaining, leave a review. Let us know you want more content, and I promise we'll probably do it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, hey, you all have a good, this come out a couple days before Christmas, so have a good Christmas, have a good New Year. We'll definitely should be back for Oscar season once that list drops. And
if all else fails, we'll do some Oscar stuff.
We got to keep them honest. Someone on the Oscar committee or someone who knows someone on the Oscar committee probably listens to this podcast.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I kind of lost steam on that bit. I'm like, no, this is not probable at all.
Oscar
I'll believe
himself listens to this show.
Yes, I know for a fact. Oh man. Oh hey, you all have a good holidays. Have a good New Year. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye.